So today we're gonna look at Squid Game. The beginning. Do you recall the beginning where like Gi-hun is always like he really loves to gamble. He's very money driven. So in the beginning, he's portrayed as like I feel like calling him a lowlife is kind of severe, but I can make that argument because like in the beginning he's kind of like sitting at the table, right? And his mom is like working really hard and like he has to ask her for money. She actually reminds him of his daughter's birthday. She has to give him money.
This is my daily allowance or what?
And even after giving him money, he has to steal her card for more money so that way he can take it and then gamble at the horse races.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely has a high tolerance for for risk. Even like taking the card, right? Like that's a risk that you're taking.
Yeah.
You're kind of risking the money that you're supposed to use for your child's birthday present. In hopes that you can get more money. So although like he's a huge gambler, you think about like why he's doing it, right? Like you can kind of see it in a different way where maybe that's the only thing that he thinks that he can do, right? Like maybe he thinks that he's not capable of much. And so sometimes like he just reverts to gambling because it's in his realm of capabilities.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because even when he wins at the horse track. He gives the lady like 10,000 won.
Here, a little something for you. Thanks again.
And he's like really happy. He calls his daughter and he tells her, he's like, hey, you can have anything you want.
Yeah, so like you already see, although he's like a gambler, if you kind of put that away, he has like a really good heart.
You're a good person at heart.
Because he gives the lady behind the
teller.
Yeah, like money just because she's there, right? And yeah, he immediately calls the daughter.
Hey, you can get something really expensive tonight, huh? Don't worry about the price at all, okay?
And tells her she can have like any meal she wants.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the loan sharks, like he doesn't want to pay them, so he starts to run off.
What?
And then when he runs off, like instead of paying them, because he owed them money, like instead of paying them, he had the option to pay, but he didn't want to pay them, which indicates like how much, although he could be generous with money, like he's not just willing to just give that up. So they have to essentially like pull teeth to get money out of him. And he ends up not even having any money to give them. But it makes me think of like the transformation towards the end when he finally has all this money and he doesn't even spend any of it. Remember how they say like he doesn't spend any of it. So that transition of like being very money driven, caring so much about money to actually having it and then not even wanting to use it because it takes him a long time to realize that money's not everything. He has to essentially lose his mom. His daughters I think moved to the United States by then. Mm-hmm. He loses his best friend. Goes through like this whole traumatic experience at Squid Game, and it takes him all that to realize that money isn't everything that he thought it would be.
That and also like he has no reason to have all that money anymore. In the beginning, the reasoning was because he needed to take care of his daughter and make sure that his mom didn't have to work anymore.
That's true.
And of course, to your point, after he loses his mom, and his daughter moves away, it just goes to show like it wasn't for him. The money wasn't for him. It was for them, but they're gone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I remember what brought him back to Squid Game wasn't really the money. It was what he needed the money for. So when he comes out of Squid Game after red light, green light, they vote to come out. which they do. So the majority rule, so the majority vote was for them to leave the game. He leaves the game, and his mom's in the hospital. He gets home, and the mom's in the hospital. And at that point, like, she kind of tells him, like, oh, like, I don't have insurance. You spent the money.
Insurance will help pay for them.
Insurance? Help us. You canceled all that. Remember, you ended it and used up all the cash we had.
You know, which shows like how irresponsible he is, which is depicted early on in the film. Because
And then isn't he triggered after his ex-wife's like new boyfriend tries to give him money to get rid of him? And he's like, I don't want your money.
You asshole. Do you think money solves everything?
So it just goes to show like he definitely values his child more than the money itself.
Yeah. And that's what I like about Seasons. I mean, movies too, but like in Seasons, you can really see the internal and external conflict. And I noticed that in all the adventure movies and even all the heroic movies, when there's like a hero or what's a female hero called? Heroine? Not heroine. Is that how you say it? Heroine? So like there's always that internal and external battle. Like that external battle is usually like this opposing force. It could come in the form of like an enemy or like a really rigid and overwhelming challenge. But then also there's always that internal conflict, like the part of them where they have to really change their character to even be able to overcome these odds.
Yeah.
And in Squid Game, I think they do a really good job with showing how much character he builds like during all these games. Every game he seems to be more empathetic. He starts to get a little more courageous, and just more thoughtful. Like with the girl, for instance, like she robs him in the beginning, but then later on, like he builds that relationship. He becomes a protector towards the end,
We'll help each other get through this as teammates.
which was really interesting to me to see that character development, especially like internally, how he developed.
Yeah, it's also interesting that he couldn't play that father figure for his daughter.
He stopped by to see Gi-hun.
Now that I saw her, I'll get going.
But he certainly played that father figure for the girl that was part of his group.
Don't let yourself go. Just keep on holding this. I'll go get someone, okay?
It's pretty ironic that when you first watch it, he comes off as this like imbecile, right? Like he's incapable of being a father, let alone a son. Like he could barely take care of himself.
Really naive too.
Yeah. But he shows to be the one that makes it out alive. And it's always those stories that really gravitate us because it's like the underdog story that most of us enjoy and always root for. Like you can't help but root for him.
Yeah, it's that depiction, and it's like so old, but you always have to have a portion of that good versus evil.
Yeah.
And like for me, like I see him as like the irresponsible child that's forced to grow up and face the world like head on. So yeah, we can definitely all relate to that because we all have that part of our lives that we also have to face. Obviously not to that extreme, but we can definitely relate to the philosophy of the movie. And I think the overall moral of the story.
I actually loved that you were able to highlight the Korean culture, right? Like little things like how he kept reiterating that. What was the other guy with the glasses? What was his name?
Let me look it up. I forget his name all the time.
Like you notice every time he had a moment, he like introduced him as this person that graduated from SNU or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's something that like you'll see in a lot of Asian cultures where like education is, something that people really value and they're really proud to talk about. And he was always promoting him. And you kind of notice, like, while he was promoting him, I forgot what is his name?
Hey, come on if you help me.
Oh, it's Sang-woo.
Sungwoo.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sangwoo.
Sungwoo
Yeah, Cho Sung-woo.
would always have this, like, almost, like, embarrassed look. Not embarrassed look, but, like, he didn't like that attention.
Yeah, and I think a part of it is shame, right? This guilt because he finished at the top of his class. Apparently, he was a very prestigious student. His mom was so proud of this accomplishment.
He went to SNU for business.
Come on, business at SNU?
Come to find out that he was not what anyone thought he was.
Yeah.
His best friend was misled. His mom was misled.
I know that my son wouldn't do anything illegal, so...
Come to find out, he embezzled money and he was involved in all these financial crimes. So he was essentially he was a criminal. So when people still talked about his good characteristics, I think he felt very guilty that he didn't live up to those expectations, which I think most of us can relate to.
Yeah.
But yeah, his transformation is another transformation that I thought was really fun to watch. And they gave you little...
I wouldn't say he transformed. I think, like, the truth became even clearer. Like, his mask slowly came off because he couldn't maintain that like, he couldn't maintain his good name anymore, almost.
Right, that's true. But towards the end, I think he learned, like towards the end when he played the Squid Game with Gi-hun, is I think when he changed, when it was too late. Like, he was in a position where he changed, but it was like just too late.
I'm sorry.
There's no going back after that. I think he went too far. Like, he cheated Abdul. Yeah, he cheated Abdul out of the marble game. So I think he felt really bad about that. He killed the girl. So I think by the time he realized, like, he felt bad. You can tell.
Yeah, and speaking of Sangwoo, I would argue that Gi-hun and Sangwoo had, like, sibling rivalry almost, right? They were so close when they were children. Like, their moms knew each other. But then toward the end, they didn't end up killing each other. They almost nearly did, but he sacrificed himself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he felt so guilty. He felt so guilty because he was trying to end the game.
I want to end here.
He didn't care about the money. He just didn't want.
Yeah.
He didn't want him to die. Gi-hun didn't want Sangwoo to die.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm gonna finish the game, I'm gonna end the game. And at that point, I think Cho-sang felt so guilty and he needed the money. He wanted to help his mom. He's like, I didn't kill all these people for nothing. Because his goal was like, I have to get this money. So he's like, I didn't kill all these people for nothing. So he kills himself. And at least that way, Gi-hun can move forward with the money, help his mom, which I think was his primary motivation anyway.
I used my own mother's house as financial collateral. And her shop. I put it all on the line.
Because remember, he put his mom's business up. He was saying he put his mom's house up with these financial crimes. So Cho-sang was very motivated to win the money. And even if it meant killing himself for Gi-hun to move forward and to be able to do that for him, that was good enough for him to kill himself.
Yeah.